you'll see that I brought all these books, right? My nice mountain of books. These are all the books I have at home or I keep here in the office. And some of them are diet books, some of them are workout books, some of them are old, some of them are new, some of them are crap, and some of them are not. And my point is that there's so much information out there about nutrition and about working out and everything, and most of it is not true, or not completely true, or even the ones that have science to back them up, and even the people that say, oh, check out this study, sometimes they put studies that don't have anything to do with what they're talking about because they know you're not going to read the studies. So I'm starting my little presentation by saying this, meaning that so that I can get across to you that if you're going to do a workout program or do a nutrition program, you have to do a little bit of research. You have to actually read the links of science that they send you. This book in particular has lots of crap. Intentionally, it has lots of crap in it. The author has given every single piece of fitness advice that he could come across in his entire career, and a lot of it is crap that he's tested. The 4-Hour Body. It's by the author of the 4-Hour Workweek. So, be weary of your workout programs. But on the other side of that coin, so if I say that everything is crap, but you say, hey, you know what, I did this and I lost a ton of weight, I got in really good shape, then you know what, no matter what I think, if that works for you, then that works for you. And so the other message is that find what works for you and that you enjoy doing, and you're not going to be working. It's like find a job you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, find an exercise program that you love to do and you'll never work out a day in your life. You'll just be having fun and playing. Cool? Alright, so the 3 topics we're going to talk about today are ancestral eating, sleeping, and pooping. I added a 3rd topic. Yes, we're going to talk about pooping. But we're going to save the best for last, so more on that later. Does anybody know what ancestral eating is? Ancestral eating is an umbrella term for eating like our ancestors. Paleo, primal, this, that, the other thing. There's lots of different names that people call it, but it's all ancestral eating. And what does that mean? That means eating like our ancestors. How did our ancestors eat? It's a tough question. That's why some people say paleo is not real and eating primally is not real, because how can you eat like your ancestors? You have to first know who your ancestors are, and then you got to know where they lived, what the seasons were like back when they lived, because our ancestors ate whatever the heck there was to eat, wherever they were and whatever time it was. So to eat like our ancestors is not 100% possible. But paleo and primal are good places to start, so we're going to go through real quick and go through paleo and primal because they're the 2 most popular ancestral eating, right? So primal has 15 rules, which are there. You don't have to. I'm not going to go through each and every detail of the rules, but first one is that you should eat a high amount of fat, a moderate amount of animal protein, and a moderate amount of carbs. The main message for ancestral eating is that fat is not your enemy. Fat is actually a good thing. Our bodies are designed to store fat and use fat properly if we eat good fat. McDonald's, French fries, fried stuff, other places, things, not good fat. Avocados, coconut oil, olive oil, some of those oils in moderation are all good fat. Fish oil, nuts and seeds and things like that. All really good fats that are going to help your body to burn fat. Eat generous amounts of, like I said, saturated fats, like grass-fed butter, clarified butter, coconut oil, things like that. Number 3, eat good amounts of animal protein. Kind of goes in contradiction to the first thing, which says eat moderate amount of protein, but I think what it means is eat good animal protein. Purdue chicken is not good chicken. If you've ever driven by the Purdue plant, you know why it's not good chicken. Conventionally raised cattle is not necessarily good to eat. If you don't have money for grass-fed cattle, then it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. But grass-fed meats, grass-fed pasture-raised chickens, animals that were raised to eat the foods that they were supposed to eat are good things. Stop and Shop actually has a fair amount of grass-fed beef now. It's not really all that expensive. Number 4, eat generous amounts of fresh or frozen vegetables, either cooked or raw or however you like it. Vegetables, I think, in any diet or nutrition plan on the planet are okay to eat. Number 5, eat low or moderate amounts of fruits and nuts. So one of the interesting things about nowadays is you can get any fruit, anytime, anywhere, just about, right? But you're not supposed to eat fruits that are not in season or not seasonal to your area, you know? I mean, bananas don't grow in the United States or North America. So, well, do they grow anywhere in Florida or California? Anyway, up here in Maine and New England and things like that, bananas don't grow. So, like, we're not supposed to be eating bananas all the time, anytime we want, or watermelons all the time, anytime we want. We're supposed to eat them when they're in season and not shipped from all the way across the world. Cut out, I skipped the next one because I already said that. Cut out all cereal, grains, and legumes from your diet. That's a tough one for a lot of people. So beans and grains, cutting out completely from your diet. We'll get back to that in a second, though. Cut out all hydrogenated and partly hydrogenated oils, including all those things, which I won't go into. Eliminate added sugar and anything that has added sugar. Another tough one for everybody. I'll come back to that too. Eliminate dairy products other than grass-fed butter and heavy cream. And that would be organic heavy cream. Eat when you're hungry and don't stress if you skip a meal or two. Come back to that too. Sleep 8 hours per night. That's going to be a big part of this talk. And don't over-exercise. That one sounds good, right? And then the next one says consider supplementing with vitamin D, but if you go outside a lot and you're outside a lot of your life, don't worry about that. The last one is play in the sun and have fun. And if you play in the sun, you don't need to have lots of vitamin D. All right. The next one is primal. Have you guys ever heard of primal? Everybody's heard of paleo, but have you heard of primal? So a man named Mark Sisson came up with the primal blueprint. It's on a list at the back of your thing. The primal plan is a little bit different than paleo in that he has less restrictions on certain things. So we'll go through that one really quick too. Eat lots of animals, insects, and plants. Insects. Do you eat insects?
No.
They actually make grasshopper protein now. Did you know that? Protein powder made entirely of grasshoppers.
I think they were eating crickets at UConn this last week. They were serving them up.
Insects are the solution to the world food problem, by the way. It's coming. Beware. Number 2, move around a lot at a slow pace. So Mark Sisson says that you shouldn't work out high intensity a lot. You should be always active, like our ancestors. They were always active. They were always looking for food, hunting, gathering, playing, doing whatever, all day long. So we should do that too. 3, lift heavy things, which is just another way of saying do some strength training. 4, run really fast every once in a while, which means every now and again, hunter and gatherers back in the day would get chased by something and they'd have to run away from it, but they'd either get away from it or they wouldn't, and they'd stop running. Get lots of sleep. There's that sleep thing again. Play. Get sunlight every day. Avoid trauma. He goes into a lengthy description about how our ancestors had to worry about lots of things, falling, getting hurt, getting eaten by other animals, getting killed by other people, so he says don't get hurt. Seems like a no-brainer. Avoid poisonous things. And use your mind, which the paleo program doesn't say. But he says that we should actively use our brains because that's part of our, as we evolved and we ate different things, it allowed us to have bigger brains and use our brains. So if you don't continue to use your brain, you won't be healthy. So, how's all that sound, right? You said, what the heck am I going to eat?
And I'm pretty much vegetarian. I say that I'm pretty much because every once in a while I do like to still have chicken. Mm-hmm. But my husband and I are both vegetarians, so it's kind of hard to get the protein, you know? You're
absolutely correct. So my next point is going to be paleo and primal and all these other ancestral eating. They're great places to start, but my best advice is read some books, experiment with eating, and find out what works for you, and then do that. If you're vegetarian, you can't give up beans. That's one of the primary sources of protein for you. I would say that most people who eat a good, healthy, balanced diet shouldn't use protein powders and stuff like that. I don't know if you do. I know some vegetarians, they have to use protein powders. I know some vegans too. They have to use protein powders because they cannot.
I just actually started doing some protein shakes because I feel like I haven't been getting any other protein in my diet. So
if you actually do a little bit of research and you go and figure out how much protein you need in a day, you'd be surprised. You don't need that as much protein as most people think. You also don't need that much more protein to build muscle and to keep muscle. So, well, you need a certain amount of protein to maintain and then you need a little bit more to build muscle, but it's not as much as most people think. Unless you're a bodybuilder, that's different. So, all this paleo stuff and primal rules and everything can be really confusing. So, I started with primal. I used to make fun of paleo until I actually started reading about it and doing it and eating that way, and I've gotten in the best shape of my life eating that way. But sometimes it's really hard to stick to eating paleo or eating primal. And one of the things that the primal guy's really good at is he says, follow the 80-20 rule. If you can be 100%, 80% of the time, then don't worry if you got to live a little and you're going to eat this, you're going to eat that, or a little bit of sugar. So, don't worry about the rules and everything like that. Just like close your eyes for a second and think about what food should be, right? Should food be in a box? Should food have tons of sugar in it? Should it have tons of, corn syrup and all the other different names for sugar? Should it have 30 ingredients in it? Should it not go bad? Like most of the food that's in the store nowadays does not go bad. I mean, you laugh, but it's true. We all know what real food is. I mean, my diet consists of a lot of healthy fat, a lot of vegetables, as yours does too, I'm sure, and then a little bit of protein, animal protein anyway. I don't count the rest of the protein. I don't eat beans and grains because it works for me, but I don't preach that you shouldn't because whatever. I mean, Brian eats a lot of rice and does a lot of stuff, but his workout programs and his life and his fitness life calls for that. Mine doesn't. I don't work out nearly as hard as he does. So think about what you're eating. Think about where what you're eating has come from and eat real food. You haven't said anything. What does your diet consist of?
I don't know, mostly a lot of chicken, yogurt,
Good.
fruit. I don't eat beans anyway because I don't like them.
Well, that works. The reason they all say not to eat beans is because they contribute to an inflammatory response in your body, supposedly. That does not apply across the board. Some people can eat beans just fine, some people can't. I found that when I took them out of my diet, I felt great, so it works for me. But, I mean, whole cultures live on beans and rice and things like that, and they're just fine and in plenty good shape. So, the message behind eating ancestrally is to think about how our ancestors lived. They ate real food, that they knew where it came from, they were active all day long, and every now and again they got some extra exercise by running or competing against other people. And you'll find that over time, life just kind of falls into place. Does that make sense? You should look at this, by the way. You ever seen that one?
No.
It's a fantastic vegetarian cookbook. And then this is another cookbook that I put a list at the back of some of the books that are actually good that are in here. If you wanted to check them out. These are usually here in the office. The cookbooks are always usually here in the office in the back if you ever want to look. We've extensively used this one, as you can see. Does anybody have any questions about ancestral eating? Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is if you're ever somewhere and you see something that says, oh, this is paleo. 10 years ago when paleo first became popular, it was a real thing. But now people have seen the popularity of it, so companies are now making money off of it. So there's paleo pancakes, paleo muffins, paleo this, paleo that, paleo chocolate, paleo cookies, paleo this. It's become a brand. So stay away from the brands and stick to the real food.
I don't know if I've seen it. Maybe
It's
I
not
haven't
everywhere.
looked for
It's
it.
not everywhere. No, don't look for it because you don't want to eat it. Okay.
Good. I'm going to have to bother then. One less thing to think about.
That's right.
Right? Yes, exactly. And that's the point. Take a moment, do what you know is right. Everybody out there knows that real food is the way to go. Not everybody can do it or thinks they can do it. I still have a video I need to post of me prepping 8 meals worth of food in 40 minutes. So, I haven't gotten to it yet, though. So.
Can you come to my house?
I know.
Talk about that after.
Are you for hire?
Yeah, sure, why not? I got plenty of time. So, both paleo and primal talked about sleep, right? Does everybody here know that sleep is important?
Oh, yeah.
Does everybody get enough sleep? Yeah? All right, most people don't.
I think I do. I don't know. I never
Probably
actually
not.
tracked it, but I think I did track it, and it said that I did not sleep deep. This thing.
Well, those aren't 100%, so
Yeah.
don't necessarily.
I need 8 hours a night.
So, sleep is the most important thing. I talk to people in the gym all day long, and I ask, they're like, oh, I'm not doing, this is not happening, this is not happening. I say, well, how much do you sleep at night? Oh, 4 hours. Well, stop working out. Because if you don't sleep, you shouldn't work out. If you don't sleep enough, consistently, you shouldn't be working out because you don't have enough energy to work out. The other thing is that if you took an in-shape, healthy person in the prime of their life who, you know, was a good weight, had good muscle tone, and ate pretty well, and you took 1 hour of sleep away from them a night, over the course of a year, they'd gain 14 pounds. That's how important sleep is. Sleep is when your body takes all the stuff that it did all day, all the food that you've taken in, puts it where it's supposed to go, figures out what muscles you used, and recovers them, and makes them stronger and does all that stuff. So if you don't do it, your body never does any of that, and it just stores everything as fat, and then it turns out fat. You also can't make good choices when you don't sleep. So if you need 8 hours a night, you know if you get 4 hours of sleep, you're like, I want some crappy vegetarian food. Some cookies are vegetarian, right? Oreos are vegan. I want some of those. So it's crazy, right? Take it from me, I don't always get the time to sleep, but I'm a professional sleeper. I can sleep right here, right now. So there's another study that I found really interesting about sleep. So some scientists took an old army bunker, turned it into a sleep study facility, and they locked a bunch of college kids in there, because college kids always do studies because they get paid and they have time to do it. So they locked them all in this sleep bunkers, one person per room, and they shut the lights off for 14 hours a day. For a whole entire month, all these college kids slept for 12 to 14 hours. And then after a month, the hours started to back up. So after like a month and a half, they had all settled in to somewhere around 7.5, give or take an hour. Right? And they still kept the lights off for 14 hours a day. So what that means is that these people slept for 6.5, 7.5, 8.5 hours and sat in a room for 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours, in complete darkness with no stimulation, wide awake, because and the purpose of the study was to discover what the optimal amount of sleep was and then what sleep deprivation did to you. So after all these college kids got the right amount of sleep and their bodies had caught up and they were good to go, they started to test them. And they did awesome on the tests. They did mental tests, physical tests, everything. Then they started taking sleep away from them. So if I was doing the study, I'd give you 4 hours of sleep, you get 6 hours of sleep, some people get regular amounts of sleep, changed it up. And then they tested them again. And the next day, after they took sleep away from them, they said, how'd you think you did on the tests? And they'd say, well, I did crappy. I didn't sleep very well. And then they'd do the same thing again the next night, and then give them the tests again. And then by the third day that they tested them with not the right amount of sleep, they'd say, how'd you think you did on the test? And they would say, I did great. You did awesome. Didn't you see? And they'd show them the test, and they'd be like, no, you did terrible. No, that must be wrong. I got this. I know how to function on not enough sleep. So what they learned was that your body is actually designed to trick you into thinking that you're okay when you don't sleep. I can attest to that. Sometimes I think I'm okay with no sleep, and then I try to drive. And lack of sleep is worse than drunk driving, so don't do it. One of the things I did leading up to this was I did a sleep experiment on myself, because I read somebody's book, and they talk about how you sleep in 90-minute cycles. Now, I tell this to people, and they say, well, I heard it was 2 hours. So, again, nothing that I say or anybody says applies to every single person on the planet, so if you know that you sleep in 2 hour cycles, then fantastic. But he said that most people sleep in 90-minute cycles. So what you should do is decide how many 90-minute cycles of sleep you need a night, right? So he said the optimal amount is 5 a night for 35 a week. Does that make sense? Everybody following? So then he said, don't see what time you need to go to bed, figure out what time you need to wake up. So for example, I need to get up at 5 o'clock most days. If I count back in 90-minute increments, I have to go to bed by 9:30. Okay? That gives me 5 sleep cycles, and then I should be able to get up at 5 o'clock. So he says, well, what happens if you can't go to bed at 9:30? Most of us would go to bed as soon after 9:30 as we could, right? Mm-hmm. But that's wrong, according to him, because if I go to bed at 10 o'clock, at 5 o'clock I'm going to be right in the middle of a sleep cycle, right? So instead of going to bed at 10 o'clock, I should wait until 11 o'clock. So then when I wake up at 5 o'clock, I've got 4 solid sleep cycles under my belt. And I should be able to get right up. So I said, that sounds really interesting. The other thing he said was that if you can't get 5, so let's say you only get 2 or 3, which is me, 1 night a week, then you need to try to nap the next day to make up some of your sleep cycles. And he said the optimal time to nap was between 12 and 3 and 5 and 7. And between 12 and 3, you could take a full 90-minute nap to get a whole sleep cycle, but 5 and 7, you should only do like a half hour. I said, great, I love naps, so we're going to try this. So I mapped out 2 whole weeks, what times I needed to get up in the morning, and then what time I needed to get to bed, and how many sleep cycles I was going to get, and if I needed to take a nap or not. And it worked wonderfully. I go to bed at 9:30, I pop out of bed at like 4:59 before my alarm goes off. I'm ready and wide awake. And if I don't do it right, I'm groggy and I'm in a bad mood, and I hit snooze 20 times, which is this morning, by the way.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And when I hear things like that, I experiment a lot on myself for the sake of my clients and the members here, so I can tell them stuff. You know, I don't always believe what people say, but I try a lot of things, and it has worked fantastic for me. So sometimes I'll sit in bed at night with my phone out, trying, and my fiance will talk to me, and I'll say, hold on, I'm doing math. I count back in an hour and a half segments. I'm like, all right, I gotta go to bed. But I can't go to bed right now. I need another hour of wake time, so I'll go downstairs and read and do whatever. And it's worked fantastic. You know how some mornings you wake up without your alarm, and it's 45 minutes before you have to get up, and you wake up and you're like, oh, wow, I could just get up right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to bed because it's cold and it's warm.
So as you're coming off the 90-minute cycle, you kind of get into like a restless sleep?
You're more awake, yes. Which actually is how the Fitbits track your sleep, because what they say is that when you are deep asleep, you do not move. And when you're not deep asleep, you do move. So the Fitbits and all the sleep trackers, they just monitor your movement. And they know that, or they assume that when you're moving, you're not in a REM. So it tracks your restless and your not restless times, and then it
and that would explain it, because I think that when I did track the sleep, I think it said I slept like a deep sleep an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Because you didn't move. And that's the other, does it have a smart alarm on it?
No.
So some of them have smart alarms.
Yeah, it does actually.
So
yeah.
what the smart alarm does, you know, if you want to get up at 6, you set it for a 20-minute window, and then from 5:40 to 6, it waits for you to move. And if you move, it goes off and tells you to wake up.
Yeah.
Because the idea behind that is that you're not in deep sleep. You're in, you know, a wakeful sleep, so that you're more likely to get up and get up. So, barring that, I have an electronic shock watch coming that will help me to get up in the morning. So I'll let you know how that goes later.
I think I have bad sleeping habits.
Most people in the world have bad sleeping habits. But that's try it yourself for a week. Just say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna write down all the times I gotta get up. I'm going to count back in 90-minute increments, and I'm going to go to bed when I say I'm going to go to bed, or I'm going to go to bed at the right time, and I'm going to see how it feels. Did it work every single day of the 2 weeks? No. There was 1 or 2 days where I found that I could not get up. But so some things that make your sleep bad is, one of them is blue light. So if you look at your phone, your computer, you have a television, that all affects your sleep, even if you're sleeping. Okay. So let's just say you're sleeping, and your phone is on your nightstand, and someone or something happens, some alert pops up on your screen lights up. You don't know it, but the blue light from your screen, it interrupts your sleep. People that say, I can't sleep unless the TV's on, they can't. They think they can't, but they're not getting deep sleep because the TV's on all night long. And it's keeping them awake even though they're sleeping, if that makes any sense. So, some of the things you can do to make sure that and this would be for people that have restless sleep or can't stay asleep for the whole night, is to get blackout curtains or a sleep mask. Generally, you don't move so much when you wear a sleep mask, so blackout curtains are the better option, but we can't all put blackout curtains in our room. You can get, I'm a nerd, and I have a pair of glasses that I wear at night that block blue light. So I wear them for 2 hours before I go to bed. So if I do want to go on my phone, it doesn't mess with my circadian rhythm, or I want to use a computer, it doesn't mess with my circadian rhythm. They do. It costs $12 on Amazon for a cheap pair. They look like Ray-Bans, but they have yellow tinted lenses, and they just block the blue light. So it works.
Do they have them in readers though?
I don't know. I've been trying to find. I'm going to go to Lens Crafters and see if I can get blue blocking lenses, because that would be awesome. You can get screens for your phones and your computer now too.
Exactly.
You can get screens you put right on your phone now that block the blue light and everything like that too. Noise. Noise keeps everybody or wakes everybody up, right? Oh, I forgot my noisemaker that's in the office. if you live somewhere, like I live with 3 roommates, so there's noise in the house sometimes at night. And my fiance wakes up, if I did this, she'd wake up. So we have a white noise maker that just makes a consistent white noise all night long. It's not electronic. It runs on electricity, but it's not a digital device. And it blocks out all the sound from the rest of the house and from the road and stuff like that. So white noise is a good thing. What's the other thing? Nature sounds. I read a study that listening... So there's something called forest bathing. You ever heard of forest bathing? So you go out in the woods for 15 minutes a day, and you get all the benefits of the sounds and nature, and it makes your body feel like you're back being one of your ancestors. Well, they did a study that nature sounds can make you feel the same way and trick your brain into feeling like that, right? So we downloaded an app, which is also on the last page, and we used to listen to nature sounds all night long, but we would listen to nighttime nature sounds. So crickets and frogs and different owls every now and again and stuff like that. And let me tell you, sleep like a baby, especially if your windows are open and it's cold out. We also play morning nature sounds in the morning. So my alarm that wakes me up is tweeting birds and bees buzzing and like sunrisey sounds, if that makes any sense. So, and you would think it might not be loud enough to wake you up, but let me tell you, I hear that buzzing bee and I'm like, boom.
I hate crickets.
Oh, well. Well, if you hate it, it's not going to work for you, clearly.
I can't stand that.
That's your wake-up alarm.
Yeah, no, sometimes that just means you're going to turn it off and go back to sleep. So I put a list on the back, too, for that, where you can get like there's a free app where you can mix your own sounds. It's cool. You pick 4 different sounds and it's called Go Mix It. You can choose how loud they are and the frequency of them. It's pretty cool. You can do it on a computer or a smartphone.
What about sounds like water running or,
Those would all be nature sounds too. Yeah, like waterfalls.
Ocean or
yeah,
waterfall,
absolutely.
that
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Now that goes back to, it's interesting. One of the things they said about nature sounds was that if you know where your ancestry is, and you pick nature sounds that come from there, so like maybe your ancestors live near the water, and that's why you. Oh well.
It lived up in the mountains.
So much for that. Keep those comments to yourself. Don't disprove my points. But anyway, they said that if you play sounds that are more in tune with maybe where your actual lineage is from, then it might be more soothing. It doesn't. Again, it's not 100%.
I know, probably
That-
goats,
Goats keep me awake.
That makes sense because that's what I listen to is beach, and I'm half Filipino, so, and after 10, 20 minutes, I'm just like, can't see it on the camera, but
Yeah, see, I find
go
those
sleep.
sounds soothing, but I don't want to listen to mountain goats.
Yeah, I mean, it's what works for you. Always what works for you. My son listens to waterfall. He listens to a waterfall track that changes pitch every track and makes you go down to like a different megahertz or something like that. So he's every night, where's my waterfall, Daddy? So we don't listen to the nature sounds so much anymore. Oh, here's another little side note about the nature sounds. My fiance discovered that kids, nature sounds will calm them. So in her classroom, she plays nature sounds now. Just low enough so it's there, but they don't really notice it. It takes them a couple of weeks before they actually notice it's going on. Once they notice it, they say, hey, can we play the beach today? Can we play rain sounds? Can we do this? Can we do that? And the days that she doesn't put the nature sounds on, they act out more. She doesn't know if it's because they act out more or she's more calm on the days that she plays nature sounds.
That's interesting, though.
But this is
Really?
1.5 years of her doing it in her classroom. And then, so she doesn't teach in her classroom the last period of the day, and she accidentally left her nature sounds on, and the teacher that does teach in her classroom pulled her aside after and said, what was that you were playing on the thing? Can we always do that? Because they were so well behaved today. So just a little interesting point. Mm-hmm. If you were to use blackout curtains, how the heck are you going to wake up? Because if we were in nature, we would wake up when the sun came up and go to sleep So they actually sell something called a dawn simulator alarm clock. It's a big light with a clock. And you tell it you want to wake up at 6 o'clock, and at 5:30 the light starts turning on, and it gets to full brightness at 6 o'clock to simulate the sunrise.
That is so cool. I need one of those.
Yeah.
They're like
Especially in the winter.
$100 on Amazon.
Oh.
80 some I saw. There's lots of different kinds. They were doing look cool. I don't have one. I would like one. They also sell light bulbs that do it now. Misfit sells light bulbs that have every color LED in them, and you can set them to different lights. Like you can actually program it to do a sunset, and in your room it will change to sunsetty colors, and then it'll go to dark. You can set it to dawn. You can set it to like a forest kind of theme, you know. So
Very cool.
I know, right? Technology, it can kill us and it can make us better. So there's another app that I have listed called. So all these things will help you sleep at night. Some of them will help you sleep at night. Not all of them will help everybody sleep at night, clearly. So, but if you can't get enough sleep and you have to take a nap, I use an app to take a nap. I can't tell my nap story because it will reveal my secret of where I nap every day in the morning. But there's an app called Pizziz. No. I could though, couldn't I? There's an app called Pizziz, P-Z-I-Z-Z. It's free. I heard about it on a podcast, and it has two settings. It has nighttime and nap time. You have it, don't you?
I do, and I love it.
Really?
I'm going to show you. So, the reason I downloaded it was because there's a study that says that transcendental meditation can supplement your sleep. Can't replace it, but it can supplement it. So if you only get 4 hours of sleep, if you could transcendentally meditate, you'd feel like you got a full night's sleep, right? So this is what it looks like. It looks like a speaker. But you slide it over, and you have power nap or sleep, okay? Power nap goes up to 90 minutes, and sleep goes as long as you want. So you choose your app. Now there's a voice that can talk to you. It's a really soothing gentleman's voice, and he'll talk to you.
So nice.
Yeah. Let's say you were going to take a 90-minute nap.
We don't have to go there. Or you can tell them later.
I can play him for you if you want. He talks to you for like 5 minutes, very slowly and soothingly, tells you to relax and, please try not to be disturbed, make sure, blah, blah. And then he goes away for a little while, and he comes back every now and again. I'm sleeping, so I couldn't tell you how many times he comes back. But he will then, if it's a nap, he will wake you up at the end. He'll start talking to you very quietly, and then he'll say, and now it's time to wake up and rejoin your day, or whatever. It's like, you just open your eyes and you're like, oh my God. If it's nighttime and you're doing sleep, he does not wake you up. And then it plays binaural. Yeah, right? He plays binaural beats the whole time. So there's different sounds, and for some reason there's birds chirping in some of them. It's randomly generated every single time you use it. The birds chirping always mess me up, but it works. I use it when I take a nap, so that when I have a chance to take an hour-and-a-half nap, I'll even play it for you. What the theory behind it is that it shoots you down to a deep sleep really fast. I know that's not going to work for people.
Inside this kind to relax and nap. It's a good idea to ensure that you will not be disturbed.
Right?
You can be as comfortable.
It's sexy to me, too. Don't worry about it.
Oh my God.
It's going to be on the internet. So, I recommend it. I put it on the list. Pizziz, it's a great app. I recommend it to everybody. If you have a partner that you sleep in the same bed with, some people don't like it. My fiance can't handle the voice wakes her up. So you can play it without the voice. That works for me too. Like I said, I'm a good sleeper, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, or headphones. When I need it, I use headphones. Last thing, which this can help with too, is meditation can actually improve your sleep. So one of the reasons we don't sleep well is because our body needs to de-stress, and when we go to sleep, it uses the first 2-3 hours of sleep to de-stress. Because stress is a whole other thing. We could probably do a whole other health and wellness seminar on stress and how to deal with stress. But if you meditate for 20 minutes to an hour a day, that's when your body's going to de-stress. Even if you're not a good meditator, just sitting quietly for a while will help your body to de-stress. So then it doesn't need to use as much of your 8 hours of sleep to de-stress, and then it can use it to sleep. So a lot of people will toss and turn for a couple hours because their body is de-stressing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So getting an app that helps you to meditate, which I also included in there, will, if you can get into a meditation practice, either for a good amount of time a day, or 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, 5 minutes
Is that
here.
what your class, the meditation class,
Yes.
is all about?
Yep. It's not a guided meditation class, it's just a group, so I kind of teach you how to quickly do the meditation that I do, and then we do it in a group for 50 minutes. And it's so that hopefully they'll practice, people will practice at home and then come in a group when it's much easier. It's very easy to do an hour in a group, very hard to do an hour at home.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It is. Well, 50 minutes. But so I tell people, try 5 minutes at home every day and then come to the hour once a week.
When do you do that class?
Wednesdays at 4. I didn't plan that.
A little plug there.
Yeah.
Is there a specific time that you should meditate before you sleep? Like a couple hours or in the morning?
Well, here's the thing. If you don't get enough sleep and you meditate right before you go to sleep, you're probably going to fall asleep. Which could be good because if you were, let's say you wanted to go to bed at 8 o'clock and you started meditating at 7 o'clock, and for 20 minutes you were successfully meditating, you weren't sleeping, and then you fell asleep, you get the same benefit from it. I personally cannot meditate right before I need to go to bed unless I do it sitting up on the floor. So I usually do it in the morning when I get up because you're actually closer to that sleep state, so it's easier to go back into a meditative state. And then I do sometimes do it in the evenings before bed, but not, it's usually like an hour or so before bed. So for me, for someone that has practiced that meditation and does it frequently, there's a big difference between meditation and sleeping. And if you come to one of my classes, you'll see the difference between meditation and sleeping because some people sleep and I bob and weave, which I explain in my meditation.
I've been wanting to try that class.
You should come. So should you.
When was that again, Ben?
Wednesdays from 4 to 5. And for all the challenge people, it's a quarter of a point every time you come because it's a group exercise class. For your mind. Thanks, Brian.
That's an idea, because I don't really know how to meditate.
Yeah.
Well, I won't go into it right now, but I can talk to you
Right.
quickly about it afterwards because there's a lot of misconceptions and, you know, there's lots of guided meditations. So, like, you just go on YouTube and do guided meditations and you'll get at least 1 million, you know, or just do a Google search. Most websites that teach meditation will give you 2 or 3 free guided meditations, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. So you can do it for the rest of your life without ever paying for an actual meditation. And just so you know, there's Vital Life Center right around the corner. She does Intro to Meditation 6-week series that are not very expensive at all. So, and those are all guided. Cool. Any questions about sleep? Rocking and rolling. Now we're on to the exciting part. Pooping. My first line there is, everyone poops, but not everyone poops well. I stole that from Braveheart. I don't know if you remember it, but it was in it. What he actually said was, every man dies, but not every man lives. But everyone poops, but not everybody poops well, right? It's uncomfortable for most people to talk about pooping, but pooping or not pooping can be a huge indication of your health, and mostly not pooping. Or maybe pooping when you shouldn't be pooping. So, if you don't poop, and I talk to quite a few people in the Wellness Center who talk about how they don't. Maybe they do every 4 days. That's horrible. And for those of us that have healthy digestive systems, we're like, how can you not poop for 4 days? That means something is wrong. And you should do everything in your power to fix that. You should be pooping every day, 2 or 3 times a day, depending on who you are, on how much you eat, and how much coffee you drink. There's trick number 1. If you can't poop, drink some coffee. And when you're not pooping, it means there's something wrong with your gut. And there's a ton of things that can be wrong with your gut. You could be allergic to food and it's disrupting your gut. You could be taking medication that is killing the bacteria or your gut biome. You could just have an imbalance in your gut biome. Certain bacteria is stronger than other bacteria and it's messing things up. You could have too much yeast, some candida infection, I think it's called, or something like that, can screw with your gut biome. You could have leaky gut syndrome. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. It's when your stomach lining thins out and stuff in your stomach leaks directly into the bloodstream before it has a chance to process. It can cause all kinds of havoc. So I can't tell you how to figure out what's wrong with your gut because I'm not a doctor, but if you're not pooping and something's wrong with your stomach, you should go to a doctor and find out. They can do blood tests. You can actually send away for a kit where you unfortunately have to save your poop for 3 days, and you put it all in a box and you send it back to the company and they analyze your poop and your pee and they tell you everything that's wrong with your gut. Man, you can do everything on the internet and in mail now.
And who are you sending it to?
A lab. You send it to a lab.
I would be
Some crazy
I question where that is going.
And what's he
think
gonna
they send
do
you-
with that?
They send you like a bedpan type of thing. You just put it in the toilet and you do all your stuff into it. You got to carry a jug around to pee into, and it's crazy. But they can tell you everything that's wrong with your gut, and then they can tell you what to do to fix it.
All for $99.99, right?
Probably something like that. I bet you it's more expensive than that. I bet you it's like $800, $900. So, if you do have something wrong with your gut, you know, things that can fix it, probiotics, everybody knows what probiotics are, but you can do prebiotics too. Does anybody know what prebiotics are? So if you have a decently healthy gut, but you're not eating a lot of the right foods, you take a prebiotic at night, and it ferments in your intestines, and then it feeds the bacteria in your gut. Again, I can't tell you what to do and how to use it properly. You'd have to consult a doctor. Some of the other things I come across is people say, "Oh, I eat all this, and it feels like I don't digest it," or whatever. You might have not enough of stuff in your stomach that digests stuff, so you can take a digestive enzyme before you eat, and then things will process better, which means you will poop better. And before I move on to my last thing, which is technique. Oh yeah.
Wow, we are getting
I'm
educated
going to show you how to poop.
Things
So,
I know.
does anybody have any questions about pooping so far? All right. Most people poop wrong too. How do you think our ancestors pooped?
You mean positioning?
Yes, positioning, technique. We're going to
Squatting?
do. Yes, they squatted, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but squatting actually opens up your colon properly and lines everything up so that poop can just come out. Okay?
I just saw something. They have like now this thing where you
Squatty
lean.
potties.
Yeah.
No, you don't lean. Leaning is the wrong thing.
No, but don't you like lean up against them?
Oh, that's a different kind of toilet. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that because I don't know anything about that one.
Where did
So-
I see that?
I don't know.
But think about it. I'm going to need you to move the camera, okay? Let's imagine this is my toilet, okay? How do most people poop now? Guarantee you,
Reading the newspaper.
That they
on
poop.
their phone.
like this.
With their phone?
Phone, newspaper, book,
Ew.
magazine, whatever. I don't know what they're doing. They're
Leave
going to have
it
a
alone.
laptop. They're on a freaking FaceTime. I don't know. So when you're pooping like this, your colon is all kinds of tangled up and squished, so you can't poop properly. You know, you ever hear guys say they had I had an hour, blah blah. I've never done that in my life. In and out. So you can buy a squatty potty. I don't know if you've ever heard of the squatty potty, have you? So the squatty potty, you know how the front of your toilet is curved, right? So the squatty potty is actually a stool that goes around your toilet, and you stand on the edges of it so that you can squat over your toilet. It's not like level with your toilet. Your feet are still below the toilet, but so that you can get into a more squatting position when you're on your toilet, which will then free up your colon to poop for real. Okay? Just told someone this 2 weeks ago, and she came to me a couple days later and said, "Oh my God, thank you." So if you don't want to go buy a squatty potty for $24.99 at Bed Bath & Beyond, you can. I don't have any financial reward from that. When you sit on your toilet, sit up straight and get on your toes so that your knees are a little higher and relax. Don't make it happen, let it happen. It's going to be my new motto. Don't make it happen, let it happen.
I think this is the first time I've ever had this subject.
I'm being 100% serious, okay? Trust me, you're going to try it and you're going to see me next time and you're going to be like, that's all you got to do and I'll know what you mean.
Everything's coming out great.
Yeah, don't make it happen, let it happen. But this gets you closer to a more natural way to poop than this. Okay. Now I'm not judging you because I don't know how you all poop, but I've never watched anybody
thought
poop.
that could make such a difference.
It does.
It can see.
Yeah.
She's been in.
It does make a difference.
I stumbled upon this in my Livestrong class. I started talking about pooping, and a bunch of people approached me afterwards and said, "Thank you so much." It actually worked in private, not in a group. They didn't come. So I hope that everybody watching this at home is gonna go poop now. Drink a coffee
The right
and
way.
poop.
Drink coffee
The right
first.
Drink coffee and go poop.
They're going to wish they'd been here just to see that.
Well, you got it on tape, right? So it's funny, we laugh about it, and my intention is that it ended with something funny, but it really does make a difference. If you
That's the
poop properly,
anyway.
you won't be bloated if you don't leave it in there too. So, any questions on anything, nutrition related or otherwise? You know you got a poop question, Brian.
No, I'm actually practicing my.
I was going to say, it looks like you're in a position.
Yeah.
So, really quick, the list at the end is some books that I found immensely helpful in my life, okay? Now, I can also tell you that I had a fair amount of knowledge a couple years ago, and I stopped listening to the radio and I started listening to podcasts, and I exclusively listened to health and wellness podcasts. And I will not say that I necessarily believe every single thing that I learn or hear on every single one of the podcasts that I listen to, but they have changed my life. And I've done research, and I hear things, and I go experiment, I read somebody's book, I do whatever, and then I try it out. And I have good results with most of the stuff I've tried out. So some books that I've read and had a lot of good, Beyond Training by Ben Greenfield. Keto Clarity is a book about a ketogenic diet. A lot of people get really worried when they hear ketogenesis because if you go into starvation mode, you can go into ketogenesis, or keto-neogenesis is what it is, I think. Don't quote me on that. Where you start to break down your muscles. But a ketogenic diet is not that. It's where you use fat as your primary fuel, and as you burn fat, you create ketones, which your brain can then use for fuel. The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson is where the primal movement came from, which is the one that's on the other side of paleo. And then this is The Wild Diet by this guy. This is not really so much a diet book, it's like a memoir and like an exercise book, and then it has this whole back section is all recipes. And they're fantastic. I mean, I've made all the ones I've tagged, there's one for cookies in here. Oh my god. Double chocolate chunk cookies or something like that. I don't know. But the ingredients are like peanut butter, palm oil, an egg. It might not even have an egg in it. Some palm sugar, not palm oil. So peanut butter, palm sugar, dark chocolate chips, and something else. You mix it all together, bake it. Fantastic. That's right. We're gonna make them when we get home. I listed the apps and how they're spelled. Paziz, Headspace is the guided meditation app, and then Go Mix It is the nature app. And then some podcasts that I've found insightful over the years are Ben Greenfield podcast, all free on iTunes or Stitcher is the Android app. Fat Burning Man is this guy, Neil James. His is a good podcast. He also does not take sponsors, so he his stuff's real. Like he actually wants to help people. He's not making any money on the podcast. He just asks you to buy his book every time. And then Bulletproof Radio, and Bulletproof Radio has been really good and informative, but I will say that the gentleman who does Bulletproof Radio will sometimes fudge the science to sell you stuff. So take it with a grain of salt. Cool. I also have for you a little article for you to read. I have extras for everybody in the internet. Have I given you this yet?
Everybody in the internet.
No, but the 28 other people that are watching this.
Okay, let's clarify that one.
Yeah. The title of the article is How to Look Good Naked and Live a Long Time.
That's what I want to know.
All right. So the basis behind this article is what is the minimal amount of exercise that I can do to look good naked, improve my numbers, like my cholesterol, my blood pressure, and all that, and to actually get in shape so I look good naked. And it's 5 different things to do over, like, it's a 2-week cycle. So you do some things once every 2 weeks, you do some things once a week, you do some things 4 times a week, you do strength training twice a week, and he gives you specific strength training things to do. I will tell you that nothing in here will take, the longest workout in here is 32 minutes one day. It's also the hardest one. The rest of them are 4 minutes or 10 minutes or 7 minutes. So I tested it for a couple weeks and I thought it was pretty good. So everybody watching this can come get this from me if they want, or I can send it to you via email, which I should do anyway. So I will text it to everybody.
Only after they watch it.
Yeah, only after you watch it. And everybody can send me an email as to why no one has come to any of these things.
Hey, we're here. Lynn and I are here.
I know. There's people here.
I was at the
I think you're on
last
video.
one
I
with
know.
Jocelyn.
Well, I'm clearly not talking to you. I'm talking to them. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ben.
That was a lot of information, though, Ben.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
You just sleeping, pooping?
Cut.